Back up at the top, it is Mark McMorris versus Dustin Craven. An all-Canadian battle, but two very, very different riders, Mary.
Yeah, you don't get two ends of the spectrum more than these individuals. And of course here, the man who is consummately incredible under pressure regardless of terrain, Mark McMorris.
Perfect. Thanks, Dave.
Obviously, winning in Alaska would be insane. It's not necessarily something I feel that is out of reach, but the more time you spend up here, the better chances you have. And I haven't spent a ton of time in Alaska yet, sort of building my credentials, if you will. In due time, and it could be this time, it could be next time, I'm not sure, but I'm going to try and ride my best. I've got to do a lot of neat things with Oakley, and thankfully they're a part of the Natural Selection Tour and a part of the Industry Alliance, and it's exciting for what the future holds. And then Burton, can't say enough good about Burton. Jake Burton was a great friend. They came on as a partner with me in 2011, I think. So just over a decade now, and it's been epic. The family, the Carpenters have done so much for snowboarding, and I feel very proud to ride for Burton, and they're the leader in our industry. They make unbelievable products, and yeah, I'm just honored to be a part of that brand.
The Saskatchewan snowboarding savant surprised a lot of people in Jackson in 2021 with his win there. But Alaska's not his natural home. But as you said, Mary, he thrives under pressure, and you can never write him off.
And that's one of the things that really comes into play. The mental game, especially in gnarly terrain like this, is so important. You have to be able to keep your composure because you are riding these things on site for the first time.
And he is fantastically strategic. You watch him in a slopestyle contest and he knows exactly how to play the game. And he'll be doing exactly the same thing here. Lovely front side 180, setting up, switch. He's been reading the rule book.
Yes. And just a quick revert back to his regular stance. It's interesting to see the evolution of the riders kind of learning those ins and outs of what the judges are looking for and how to kind of navigate this terrain within the contest parameters.
Well, that's exactly what McMorris has done. He's looked at Dustin Craven's scores from Baldface and gone, he got put through the roof for those switch turns. I'm pulling in there.
So I have to feel a little bit like Mark is kind of like familiarizing himself, as you put it so well, range finding the terrain right now.
Yeah, he's working this spine. Very similar line to Ben Ferguson up here. And he's come onto this really scary nose. You've got to get your speed right off the end of that. Little bit shorter than Ben Ferguson there, but he gets a lovely transfer. Is he setting up?
Nice backside 360, just floating into that landing right there.
Beautiful butter out of the bottom as well. Clean set of heels on the face. That was very, very tidy. Super tech up top. He managed to get a bit of freestyle in down at the bottom. Feels like he's ticking all boxes.
I do feel that he's holding back a little bit, though. I think that, we saw him last year in Alaska really go full send, and Mark has a lot more in the tank. I think that's him getting a run down on his feet, feeling things out, and setting himself up for run number 2.
Well, we're seeing the competitor in him. He wants to see what those switch turns are worth up top as well. I think there's going to be the judges will sense a bit of a layup in there, and they're going to be very careful to measure that score because of that.
Kind of got a little bit lost at one point.
Yeah, that is not what you want to happen on a face like that.
And that's such a thing here.
Yeah, no, I wasn't meant to go off that one cliff, but I'm glad I was going slow. I just barely cleared the rock. And then I was able to hit that hit at the bottom I wanted, but I definitely didn't want to do it back 3.
Ben Ferguson had way more confidence off that really steep nose, and it showed, didn't it? Mark didn't know exactly where he was, so he really crept off it.
And that makes so much sense to hear his feedback now. It's so cool to be able to hear.
Discombobulated. That was so random.
That's the explanation right there, because it did seem a little unlike Mark to be riding conservative in that element.
And one of the best snowboarders in the world getting tangled up in there. That gives you an idea of just how complicated spine riding is. Back up at the top now. And it is the turn of our boldface winner. It is Dustin Craven out of Calgary in Canada.
Coming into Alaska, the pressure is definitely there. I mean, BC is my type of terrain, and I'm around that all the time. Up here, there's no trees, for one. And then just the ability of people coming up here and having ridden the terrain before and having a good look and a good eye for how big things actually are. My biggest challenge up here will definitely be like standing at the bottom and not knowing what really works and connects, because I'm just not that used to it. But it's also, when you're around people that are so superior at it, it's also just a good learning opportunity. I've been riding for Yes for 3 seasons now, and they've been a great partner with me because they gave me the opportunity and the support to get out there and help me travel this year. And then also Eagle Pass partnered with Yes, so I was fortunate enough before this trip to go out and get some heli days in. So we did 3 heli days in Revelstoke, and we were riding big lines, so that was kind of helping with building my confidence and stuff. They're just all old snowboarders and snowboarders that everyone looks up to. So it's nice to have a rider-driven brand to be a part of.
Dustin, the TAE Natural Selection champion from Baldface, won a ski-doo while he was there, in addition to massive bragging rights.
Yeah, and he mentioned there, I mean, if you're on Yes, you're basically getting the okay from Roman Demarchi, JP Solberg, and DCP. So, yeah. And he's on the standard, which is, it's a directional board, but it's not tapered.
Love that start with that back 3 off of that zone that we haven't seen opened up yet. That was very cool.
Okay, couple of setup turns onto this big feature.
Ooh, that was a sizable launch right there. I mean, that's the thing about Dustin. You can see this calculation, but also, backing that up with a frontside 360, but also he's very creative.
And we've seen that, I feel like, in his contest runs at Natural Selection and in his video parts. He's gone from being quite a kind of wedge-orientated kicker rider for me into taking on more and more bigger lines through BC and Alaska.
Completely. I mean, his trajectory and his style of riding is very, very unique, and it never lets up, regardless of the terrain that he's in, which makes him a very exciting competitor in this competition. Of course, taking this little bit less featured route that we saw Mikkel do on his first run. Oh, but then going, was that a...
Front 7.
Wow.
But he's tomahawked out of it. And there's been a lot of debate. For a lot of people, it's one of the areas where I think there's some confusion. You can get away with some falls, even deck tearing, obviously hand drags, bum drags, not an issue. But if you're tomahawking like that, then it is going to hit your score.
Yes.
Mark McMorris gets a little bit lost on this run by his own admission, but there's still some gems to pull out of this.
He was riding very well. It just was for him, not fully on the throttle because of that. So I think it's going to be looking toward that next run to really see what he can do on this, because still solid.
Yeah, back 3 down at the bottom here, and we heard him talking. He wanted more than that. The backside 360, the ultimate safety or setup trick. Got a nice little butter in there as well.
And of course, Dustin had a really strong start to his run. I believe it was technical, it was unique. Right there with that backside 360 off of that rock face right there.
You get that lovely, again, there's been a lot of talk about this. We're moving away from those Jackson Hole really big, wide takeoffs that you have. When you start seeing really nice angled takeoffs where riders have got to measure exactly where they're taking off, how far they're going, and what angle it's going to put them into the landing.
And he's getting that around, but just getting caught up on that landing right there.
On the head went down, the body language said it all there, didn't it?
Dude, nice work.
So this is the judging conundrum. You really are apples and oranges here. You've got one very steady run where Mark got a bit lost, and then you've got one slightly stronger run, but with some technical instabilities. So 80 points for McMorris, 60 points for Dustin Craven. Craven under the pump for the second run. Now we come back to the all-Canadian matchup. One of competitive snowboarding's most, if not the most successful rider of all time, Mark McMorris, going up against the TAE Baldface Natural Selection winner, Dustin Craven. McMorris dropping in first, though. And he had quite a clinical first run, I feel, and he's definitely in the driving seat here.
Oh, beautiful front side 360 to start things off, looking very smooth at the top.
He's got that classic. Oh, the front one. So
Okay.
we're seeing that big switch riding, drawing out those turns. Riding as fast switch as you'll see a lot of people ride normal. That half cab round again. So he's not, arguably he's doing that as lip service for the judges rather than a really, really technical moment where he's linking it into a big switch takeoff. Exposure with the transfer.
Finding a new line there. I mean, Mark looks very, very collected in this run.
He looks really, really comfortable in this terrain as well. If you cast your mind back to 2012 at Supernatural, Travis's first iteration of this comp, and he was so far out of his depth, and now he's one of the big players, essentially, the heavyweights of this field.
Navigating a backflip off of that second drop right there. I mean, when you see Mark picking his way down after having done this once already, you know he's got something in his pockets.
Back 3 here last time, and he wanted to improve. Big back
my
7.
Goodness.
That was huge. He almost ran out of landing there, didn't he?
Wow. Okay, so that's putting the pressure on Craven for sure.
Okay, it'd be good to take a closer look in the recaps at the landing on that 7 to see whether how hard the judges are going to hammer him for that.
I agree. Kind of pending really what happened in that landing. I mean, that was a very solid run.
But he's pushed a lot harder than his first run. It was an 80 point, I think.
Yes.
Too much
And then-
gas.
Oh yeah, definitely too much gas up there, Sparky. You could see he opened up on that 7, only to find that he was still
Damn it.
15, 20 feet off the
That
ground.
was so there, and I just gassed it way too much.
Oh, it's so frustrating for someone as talented as Mark McMorris to know how close that 7 was. Back up at the top, fellow countryman Dustin Craven ready to drop in.
Yeah.
And he's got some work to do here, Mary.
Dustin, I think, has a strategic mind for
Yeah, boys, have a
what
good
he
run.
needs to do to perform in this situation. I'm interested to see what he's going to put out there right now.
So he strung that little line, same as Marion Haerty. He was looking at the backside 360 through this little hole.
Okay.
Oh, and it almost looked like he hadn't made up his mind whether it was back 1 or back 3. It was sort of alley-ooping into that transition, wasn't it?
Yeah, it just did not look as authoritative as his first run, for sure.
But he's got plenty of exposure to work with here.
That was a nice
Step down transfer. Oh, and he's gone
Ooh,
huge!
so big.
Beautiful. Same as Jared Elston, same as Travis, into that really nice pocket. And you get it from that angle, you could see how far they're stepping out.
Big frontside 360 right there. Very, very clean.
He's definitely had some redemption on the bottom side of this face now. That huge transfer and the 3. What's he got left? This is the hip that we saw Mikhail really boosting off in his second run.
Okay, frontside 1.
Oh, using some choice descriptions of that performance.
Oh, and getting taken down right there.
And again, with Dustin, the body language is so visible. The head dropped straight away. He's not happy with that run at all.
You know, I think you said it well during his run. Mark just built on what he had laid out, which is, his strategy in general as a competitor. He gets out there, he susses it out, backflips right there, and puts down a stronger run.
And that's the thing. I feel it with Mark. Like, okay, let's take a look at this landing.
Oh.
We wanted to discuss this. So yeah, he's over-rotated just to touch the upper body. He's trying to keep the upper body there and the board just over-rotated. But Dustin just couldn't meet that transition the way he wanted to. He was almost too relaxed there.
Yeah, it was a tough start to his run, but then it really looked like he picked things up and had a lot of good momentum throughout the rest of it.
So much speed into that.
Yeah.
Lovely front 3 there.
Did you trick that top one where there's
Back 3, but it kind of like didn't land smooth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the 2 Canadians, it looks like Mark McMorris on his 80 point from the first run is going to go through. Be interesting to see if Mark's score picks up. I think it actually might a little.
I think because, yes, completely. An 86 for Mark McMorris, and of course a 72 for Craven.
Big step up for Craven as well. But
It's insane. That's some bullshit.
yeah, the freestyle elements. Mark's was very big mountain first run. There wasn't too much freestyle. He added the 7, added the backflip, and he's starting to. Well, he's only 4 points shy of Travis.
Guys.